All right, it's superlatives time. What do you got?
Well, okay. I mean, I want to talk about that game, actually. I don't mean to always do this, but I want to give the Don't Forget About Us award to the Ravens defense, because that was the story of the game. Even though we're going to talk about Lamar Jackson and how awesome he is, and he still is awesome. I'm not trying to say anything against that. He's the MVP of football right now, clearly, especially after Russell Wilson last night. But the Ravens defense yesterday was the story of that football game. Again, this is one of the, I think that right now statistically they're sixth in football in total defense. I would say they're one of the 5 best defenses in the game. They got great size. They got unbelievable corners. They got a defensive coordinator in Wink Martindale who's very creative. And I can promise you the sorest guy in the NFL this morning is Josh Allen. Josh Allen got absolutely just his butt whooped and obliterated and took so many hits in that football game yesterday. They could not protect him at all. Kudos to him for fighting through it. But the Ravens defense, I think, was the story of the game especially. They set up some short fields for the offense and really just made a number of big plays. Had the strip sack fumble of Josh Allen that led to a short scoring drive for the Ravens offense early on to get them up 10-0. But I thought that performance was really special. And then Marcus Peters cooling off with a beer.
Drinking a beer.
Come on, it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The Ravens are going to need their offense and their defense. You can't just rely on one phase if you're going to go as far in the playoffs as you'd like to. And that was look, not easy to go to Buffalo and win. This is a great Bills team, and they should not allow themselves to get knocked wobbly by that defeat. They still could win.
They hung in there.
Just a game behind the Patriots, but the Ravens just 2 wins away from being the 1 seed in the AFC. They may not be playing for anything Week 17 against the Steelers, other than possibly keeping the Steelers out of the playoffs, which is something to play for.
Might be something to play for. Steelers would be a bad matchup for them.
All right, my first award is it's not Daniel or Danielle, it's Danielle Hunter Award, because we got to start getting the guys.
He's going to his squad. He's going to his Vikings.
Now, and when I say we, I don't mean me, I mean you.
Okay.
You've mispronounced his name a few times, and I've never really called you out. Now
his
that the
whole
guy
life.
is the youngest player in NFL history to get to 50 sacks, Danielle. It's Danielle Hunter.
Okay.
Sorry,
Danielle.
And he is standing still.
Yes.
Is intimidating. Moving is extremely intimidating. And 3 sacks yesterday, just incredible what he can do when he springs free. And he told me after the game, because I said, when do you know it's going to be a good day for you? He said, I know the first couple plays. I know that if I can handle this guy or not. I know. And he was able to handle the Detroit Lions, and the Lions couldn't handle the Vikings. But youngest ever to 50 sacks, and he never gets discussed.
No, he does not.
Never.
And he's really one of the best edge defenders in the sport. You're right. I mean, he's
very quiet.
Yes.
And I've talked to him several times over the years. He's starting to come out of it a little bit. You can tell when somebody is finally starting to realize, I'm pretty good at this.
Right.
So you start to be a little less reserved. He's kind of coming into his own. He's always deferred to Everson Griffin, but I think he's recognizing he's starting to take over that defense.
Yeah, it's his time.
And it's good. He seems like a great kid.
He does seem like it.
He's young. He just turned 25. He is a kid. Compared to me, he's a kid.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm at the age of 39. Anybody under 25 is a kid to me now, too. I don't know where that happens, where you become an old man, where you can call anybody a kid.
When you're 39.
Yeah, when you're 39. He's a kid to me, too. But I'm with you. Does not get the credit he deserves. And you're right, probably because of some of the other superstar names on that defense, it's kind of taken away from what he's done. But that's pretty special. 50 sacks, shortest ever, right? Is that what that
youngest
is?
ever, not
youngest
short,
ever.
Youngest
shortest.
ever.
Okay,
yeah.
Youngest ever. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going with the Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels Award to Drew Lock. Have you ever seen that movie, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels? You need to see it. It's a Guy Ritchie film. Very good. You would really like it.
It's called Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Yes, it is. It's the prequel to Snatch. All right. But either way, Drew Lock is who I want to talk about, because Drew Lock in 2 games has jump-started the Denver Broncos a little bit. Now, last week, it was nothing special statistically. Threw 2 touchdowns early, got them out in an early lead. But yesterday, I mean, you saw the talent the guy had. And that game in general, that's why I want to bring it up, that was one of the shockers of the day. There were so many other big games. So come on, the Houston Texans just got absolutely drubbed at home against the Denver Broncos, where the game was 31-3 at one point. I mean, are you kidding me? Nobody saw that happening. And Drew Lock is the big reason. He is phenomenal. And the reason I went with the 2 Smoking Barrels, because the 2 Smoking Barrels are Noah Fant and Courtland Sutton. I mean, they got a hell of a trio there, all right, in Denver for the future. And Drew Lock, I think you see his talent. He's a pretty good athlete. You could see when the ball comes off of his hand, he has a pretty special arm. And they're more aggressive in the passing game yesterday, and he brought a little life to this offense. I just want to give him some credit for a big win on the road against the Houston Texans.
Yeah, and according to our friends at Rotten Tomatoes, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels is a grimy, twisted, and funny twist on the Tarantino hip gangster formula.
It's like that. It is like
75%, though. I'm not wasting 2 hours of my life unless it's at least 90%.
I'm your friend. I'm just telling you it's worth that.
I'm not wasting 2 hours of my life based on your recommendation.
Okay, fine. The hell with you then.
Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. I've never even heard of it. Never heard of it.
Yeah.
I've heard of most movies. I've never heard of that.
It was the movie before Snatch, and you know Snatch, right?
No.
With Brad Pitt, Snatch?
No, haven't seen it.
All right, well, look at that.
I'll have to watch it both.
This.
All right. Next one for me, Co-Worker of the Year award.
Yeah.
Does not go to Baker Mayfield. Look, the Browns won. It feels like every time they win, they still have lost. And all this Odell Beckham Jr. stuff that's hovering over the team is not useful. And we felt it coming all week long. Over the weekend, it really erupted. First with the report from the Cleveland Plain Dealer that Odell Beckham Jr. is being wasted in a dysfunctional offense. Then the report that he needs hernia surgery. Then Jay Glazer reporting that he's told people Beckham has with other teams that he wants out.
Wow.
And then it all culminates in Baker Mayfield going to the podium and calling out the team's training staff for how they handled the Odell Beckham Jr. sports hernia. And look, on one hand, I look at it and I say, hey, the players get called out all the time when they don't perform. Maybe others in a football operation should get called out too, right? But that's not the way to do it.
No.
And Baker Mayfield tried to backpedal it. And look, just once you cross that bridge, you've crossed that bridge.
Yes.
And it's just for and they won.
Yes.
The last two games they've won, it feels like a loss because there's always something with this team. They need to take a complete and total top-down look at that organization. There is something inherently dysfunctional in that collection of players that they need to get figured out because it's going to keep them from being as good as they can be.
Yeah.
But it's just it's unfortunate because we try to support Baker Mayfield.
Yep.
But you got to know what you can and can't say, and that is something you cannot say. You cannot call those people out publicly. And he did it so nonchalantly. He said he was emotional in his tweet. He didn't seem emotional.
No.
It was all very, very straight delivery, very matter of fact. And it's not good.
No, it's not good. Hey, listen, they have some young players.
Could you imagine how Bill Belichick would react?
Well, no,
if
that's
Tom
what
Brady
I mean. It
said
doesn't
something
happen.
like that?
Well, that's what it doesn't happen. And that to what you've said too. That starts with the head coach and him kind of reining guys in on the podium when they are up there with a microphone in front of their face too. Baker Mayfield. I'll say this: what he's trying to do, and there's better ways he could have done it. He's trying to stick up for Odell Beckham Jr., which is where I give him credit. He's trying to let everybody know that the guy's
valid. It's easy to do, though.
But you're right.
This guy's played through a lot.
Yes,
he's kept his mouth shut. He hasn't complained.
He's hurt. He's not 100%.
Nobody really knew what it was. There's a way to do it without throwing people under the bus.
No doubt about it. That's really the point of it. Exactly right. His intent, I don't think, was to throw anybody under the bus. I think he was trying to stick up for his star player.
Threw him under the train.
Yeah, he threw him under the train. But he's trying to stick up for his star player who, is important to him and he wants to have a good relationship with him. So, but yeah, you got to be a little better there. All right, the Silent Assassin Award. The Silent Assassin Award.
Silent but deadly assassin?
Silent but deadly is Ryan Tannehill. Because, yes, silent but deadly. He is silent. He doesn't talk a whole lot, but his play on the field is doing a lot of talking. Ryan Tannehill is playing some unbelievable football, and it was bombs away yesterday against the Oakland Raiders. Hey, don't look now, but the number one rated quarterback in football by 6 points is Ryan Tannehill. That's what's unbelievable. And I'm not all about in quarterback rating and all that, but it does tell you something. And Tannehill, the big thing to me, and like you saw yesterday, when there's a play to be had, man, does he throw it. And he could it's bullseye every time. Specifically 1st and 10, backed up, game 7-7, people in his face, bam, A.J. Brown, 50-something yards down the field. It ends up being a 95-yard touchdown pass, or 91, excuse me. But him, the way he throws the ball aggressively down the field, to me, this is, I'm actually, like, the last few years with the Titans, I've been like, oh, Titans, please don't get in the playoffs. You guys are so boring. You maybe are going to win one game and ruin the divisional weekend or something like that. I don't want to see it. I'm actually excited to see the Titans this year because of Ryan Tannehill, because he's consistent. He takes advantage of all that's there to be had on a week-to-week basis, and therefore it makes them a dangerous football team, and that's why they're on fire since he took over.
And you called it the moment they pulled off the trade with the Dolphins to get Ryan Tannehill that it's just a matter of time before he supplants Marcus Mariota. If only they had done it sooner.
Yeah, right.
The guy's 6-1 as a starter.
I know.
If they had realized earlier to go with Tannehill instead of Mariota, they wouldn't be fighting and scratching and clawing for that last spot in the playoffs, because as it stands, they need the Bills or the Steelers to collapse.
It's crazy.
They may not get in.
Yeah, they've gone 5-1 and they're not in.
But they still control their playoff fate.
Because they got the Texans twice,
the Texans twice.
Wow.
And the Texans are only one game ahead right now of
or just have
the
a tiebreaker.
Titans.
It's the same record.
Well, but that's the thing. If they beat them twice, right? If they beat them, oh wait, they do have the same record.
Yeah.
So they beat them twice and they're in. They don't even have to beat the Saints now.
Yeah.
So don't look now, but the Titans are in the thick of things, and I like it. And this is a year. That's the thing. Every other year they've been in the playoffs, we're like,
I know.
This is a year I think we kind of want to see them in.
I wouldn't mind.
Because I think if you're any of these teams in the AFC, you don't want to see the Titans show up.
Yes. His big playability, Derrick Henry. We know the defense with Dean Pease and Vrabel are going to be tough and have good game plans. Last one. We got to give this because this is the MDS special. We had a double triple yesterday.
Austin
Ekeler. We got to give him the double triple award. I mean, MDS came up with this stat. It's awesome by him, and I'm like infatuated with it now. I saw it. I was like, oh gosh, there's the MDS double triple. So Austin Ekeler deserves it.
100 yards receiving, 100 yards rushing as the Chargers destroyed the Jaguars. I'm surprised that everyone wasn't fired before they went home last night after that one. If I'm Shad Khan, I'm beside myself now. We got to take a break.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.